Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Teary Morrow and I'm here with Catherine Haleko. Say hi, Catherine.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast we talk about parenting issues, but once a week, Catherine and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. This week we're continuing our West Wing watch, and we're ending our Good Place watch for the season in tears.
Torrents of tears.
Torrents of tears. Mike Schur, curse you. That is not nice. Or whoever wrote that episode, because come on.
Yes.
But let's start with The West Wing, which tried to end on a sentimental note itself, but still hasn't quite gotten its Sorkin-era mojo back with that stuff, I think. What did you think about the Dover test? Completely unmemorable title that it is.
Yeah, I know. It's taking me a minute to recall.
Was Bartlett with the wounded soldiers? Was that the end of the episode, or was that a little earlier? Because I felt like that was supposed to be tugging our heart big time. Look at how wonderful he is.
Yeah, that was pretty much the end of the episode.
This is what we do it all for, is for moments like this. And I'm like, yeah, I think I've seen this done better on this very show. Not that long ago.
Yeah, but it was still sweet. I'm still,
although
able to be
by
those
I'm not a monster, but still.
I was not accusing you of being a monster. Yeah, we had that. We had Donna, that whole, it's still with Josh, yelling at people on the phone on Donna's behalf and reading her mail and, get a clue there, friend. I don't know.
Yeah, not at all to deny the fact that Josh is kind of an ass. Has there been any transition from Josh going to Germany to be at her bedside to her being completely over him? I feel like we should have had some little breadcrumbs along that trail.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there were any until this one, in which she's just the worst possible version of Josh. And she is just as disgusted with him as we kind of figured she should have been since the first episode she was on, Yeah. So that's the whole, they're taking their darn time finding how to write Josh this season, actually the last couple of seasons, because he was always kind of an ass, but he was a charming ass, and now he's just an ass. So,
and he was cocky, but it was pretty much earned.
Yes.
And now it is not.
Yeah.
I think that might be the difference.
Yeah. I feel like at the very end when he's kind of processing everything that Santos has done, and then he starts thinking a little beyond that. Did you tank your own bill so that you could, how long is your game?
Yeah.
That's the Josh we know who's figuring that out. Yeah. And please, more of that. I do know there is more of that, but that's what we want. He can go ahead and be, obnoxious as long as we know that mind is in there that understands politics. Yes. He has to understand politics, or else who is this person? What have you done with Josh? So, that was a little glimmer of hope at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of it was unpleasant. And I then also feel like, Donna, you have been enabling this for 5 seasons. You don't get to all of a sudden be pissy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does she?
Right.
Maybe she does.
Well, especially
she's had a near-death experience,
said,
but still.
But especially without any sort of breadcrumbs, as you said, any sort of little hints that she had come to a big realization about Josh, whether it was even conscious or not, or subconscious. There needed to be something, and there wasn't.
There wasn't. And I totally agree with what they were saying on the West Wing Weekly podcast about, they make this whole big deal about news people want to talk to her. They want to make a movie of the week about her, all this stuff. The way to resolve that was when Annabeth had an idea, it was to involve Donna in some way. And then
And it wasn't idea. I know. I was completely confused by that. I thought at least
maybe she was going to the hospital with him. That would have been fine, but just nothing. So what was, I guess the purpose of all that other stuff was to get Donna thinking that maybe there's a better life for her outside of the White House. But,
yeah, I found that
extremely mild spoiler
confusing.
Alert. But yeah, what the heck was that?
Yeah, didn't get that.
You can't, they used to be very good at setting things up and then playing them out. And that one was just, it
was a clunker.
Yeah. I think they think it's going to play out in future episodes, but it needed to play out in this one as well. Mm-hmm. And there was like such an obvious way for it to do it. Just, I remember the first time I saw it, I think I had exactly that same feeling that they were talking about on the West Wing Weekly, which was, I know what this is going to be.
Right.
And it wasn't. Ay. It's just.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's weird.
It really is just not. The scenes with Leo and his nurse, I enjoyed those.
Yes.
Even though they were extremely manipulative. I was, like I said, I'm not a monster. I was manipulated. I was happily manipulated because it was John Spencer. And
right. And that actress who played the nurse was also really great.
Yes, she was. I liked her, and the interplay between them was very enjoyable, even though we never saw her before, and I don't think we'll ever see her again. Was she there when CJ came for lunch? I don't remember.
Yeah, she was. She was on the previous one.
But we weren't aware we had to actually pay attention to her.
Exactly. And it's still weird with him and with Leo and the meds, like they pointed out on the podcast.
Yes.
Like, this person is an addict. And he keeps talking about Vicodin. This is not a good idea.
Yeah, that was weird. He did mention that she doles them out like she was his AA sponsor. So I guess that was supposed to be a little bit of a nod, but it's still a huge continuity.
It did not
WTF.
Work.
It did not work, and I don't get it. Yeah, I enjoyed the bit with trying to find Charlie an office, and honestly, we all know, right, that where he and Margaret were headed at the beginning there was the steam pipe drug distribution venue, and Margaret just said no.
Which you called, absolutely.
They didn't get there because Margaret only went 100 steps, but still.
She's like, nope, too many steps.
We knew that's where we were going.
Mm-hmm.
But, good for Charlie. He's just jumping right into his new work. I'm trying to remember if we ever see a new body man for the president again, or if that was only an essential function when Charlie was in the job.
Was doing it.
It will
not care who does it anymore.
See if Leo's nurse is available. Is she looking for another job?
She'd be good.
She and Debbie could just hang out.
Oh my gosh,
and eat naan and have a good time.
I would like to see
and cluck disapprovingly when any corporate bigwig came through.
Absolutely.
They would bond in their mutual distaste for chemical companies.
I really think this is a good idea.
That would be great. It's second only to Nancy and Fitz having a detective show.
Right. Oh, Fitz. We miss you.
Fitz. So we continue being kind of meh about West Wing Season 6. Mm-hmm. It's not terrible. It's not good. It's it's like if you go away for a long time and then you get back together with friends and you're really, really happy to be with them, but you've all done other things and you're not really the same people. I feel like these are not really quite the same people, but they're still enjoyable to hang with.
Right. That's a good analogy.
So we'll see. I can't talk too much about where it's going, but I think that they made some wise decisions in where they were going with the show from here. And we'll talk about them when they get there. But it's
just, there's only one more season after this?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So, and it's difficult to reproduce something that is iconic.
Yeah.
So if you can find a way to not have to do that, that's a good idea. So we'll see where that goes. But more of that to come. Sadly, for quite some time, not more of the good place to come. And frankly, after this season ender, I'm like, stay away forever. Stop doing this to me.
We need a break, a long break.
We need a long break. God.
Except we need to know what happens.
I don't want to know what happens because every time something happens, it screws things up again. I would have been happy. Let's just end it with the image of end it after Janet's, with them declaring love for each other, and then just go away for a while. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I mean, these people have already lived like 900 lifetimes together, right?
Yes.
And, but I still feel like something weird happened when they were in the good place, because people have not really been themselves since then. I feel like Tahani's been way more insecure. I mean, she was always insecure deep down, but she covered it over a lot better. Mm-hmm. Michael is kind of now Chidi-like in his inability to deal with stressful situations. Chidi is just the smoothest dude on the planet. Oh my goodness. And we haven't seen all that much of Jason, but it seems like everybody kind of shifted a little bit, and they didn't explain that, and it doesn't seem like they're going to explain that. And although I very much see that I liked Smooth Chidi, he's just awesome. And now we're going to lose him. So presumably when he comes back, he will be back to stomachache having Chidi, which it was adorable that now every time he has a stomach ache, Eleanor can think that he's thinking of her, which means all the time. Oh.
And that moment when he sees Michael, he says, Michael looks like me. This is not good.
Yes. But Chidi is not like Chidi. Chidi has not been like Chidi since they were in Janet's Void. Mm-hmm. So
that's
what up with that, y'all? I guess. Jeez. So was he like that? I mean, I guess based on the movie, it looked like he was like that every time they fell in love. That scene.
And he was
holy cow.
He got a little bit like that when he was with Simone, don't you think?
Yeah, he did. And, well, I mean, that was a brilliant twist to bring her back.
Simone
I did not see that coming.
No.
That even when they figured out that they were bringing back people that were going to be a problem for each of them, I did not see that coming when they opened the door. And then when you see her, you think, of course. Although, gosh, poor Simone. She died in a hilarious way not long after we knew her. That ain't right.
I know. That stinks.
I'm not happy about that.
I know. I feel like the bad place had something to do with that.
Yeah.
If they can. I don't know if they can.
I don't know if they can. Although, unless, my original theory was that she was not actually a human, so it could be that she's some sort of bad place plant all along. But I think the judge would know that. Anyway.
And who is it going to be for... Because we still haven't seen who it's going to be for Eleanor and Jason.
And you know what? The prospect of finding that out does not fill me with delight. Stay away longer, good place. If they just... The thing is, I mean, every episode of it is, of course, wonderful and well done and heart-tugging. And they, especially this season, have had actually all the seasons have been just some really, really sweet television that reminds me of Parks and Rec and how that show was about friendship. And I love that, but there are places I would like to stick around for a while. Mm-hmm. Pretty much every place I would have liked to stick around for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have had a whole season on Earth, and they could have had a whole season of, checking out all the different otherworldly spots. And
we thought that about season 2.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, I mean, when they were rebooting, they rebooted people 800 times in one episode. It's like, I would like to see some of those reboots. And now that I've seen some of them on film, I definitely want to see some of those reboots. I want to see how they got I want to see what the llama was doing in her house. I want to see all these things. And we're just whipping by at such a pace that at some point, I think as we said last week, it gets hard to invest in anything. Mm-hmm. And yet, of course, I am invested. And I was reading Alan Sepinwall's review of this episode, and he was saying that he just never felt like Eleanor and Chidi were that central to everything, that he was more in it for the friendships, which I agree with to a certain extent, that I was surprised that they kept coming back to them as sort of the emotional heart of the sort of the Leslie and Ben of The Good Place.
Right.
And yet you can't help it because they're just adorable. And then you just keep pulling the football away from us. Good Place people. Stop that. I would like to see a whole season of them being in love. Instead of we seem to end every season with it. But
Yeah.
could we stop that? Somebody needs to write a dissertation on Mike Schur series and people who love each other breaking up for absolutely virtuous reasons. I was just thinking back and trying to find on YouTube the scene where Leslie and Ben break up the first time because she's running for city council and she's trying to explain herself and he hands her the box with the nope for, the nope badge, and she realizes that he knows, and it's like, don't, it's like, that's wonderful. That's so clever. That's so well done. And it's so real life that sometimes things don't work out as smoothly as you want. Even when you find your soulmate, you can't be with them, but it hurts. And that's not what I go to sitcoms for. And stop it.
He likes to do that to us.
I was afraid to watch this episode. I kept putting it off because I thought of all sorts of bad things that could happen. And none of those bad things happened, and yet this was worse. So
a different bad thing happened.
I kind of wish they could just wipe everybody's memory at this point and just let them all just start over in this new place. Because I don't see how they're ever gonna, Tahani is ever gonna, it's gonna torture her to have that bleepity bleep there.
Yeah.
And...
Well, and also I was thinking about, Chidi says, you've got to wipe my memory because Simone's here and I'll give something away. And yet Eleanor doesn't have any, she's fine with if Chidi's here and she knows everything about her and Chidi, but he doesn't, but she doesn't feel like she'll have any problem pulling that off.
Yeah. Well, she's an excellent liar, as she mentioned.
She is an excellent liar. But I guess I'm thinking more of in all the past times, they've found each other. Mm-hmm. Well, here, she doesn't have to find him. He's right there.
Right. And plus, he has another sort of supposed soulmate there also. I mean, he and Simone were pretty serious, and they sort of just broke it off because of cosmic reasons. So, I don't feel like I want to watch that. I want to see how that goes. It's one of those things where I feel like I want to, at the end of the season, go back and read what all the episodes were about and then decide if I want to watch it again. But that's not a good place to watch this particular show.
No, it's not.
And how were the rest? I mean, the rest of them knew Simone too. They're not going to give it away. Jason is not capable of lying. I guess if he says, I knew you in another life, she would believe it from Jason. But,
and also, I'm not quite sure why Jason has to be a fake monk again.
Yes. Why is that? And the outfit doesn't look the same as it did then. Maybe it's just because we know him better.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's like a different color.
Did Derek construct that? Possibly?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know exactly why they're doing that.
Yeah. That was a very sweet scene between her and Janet, though. That was all the philosophizing for us. That if it were easy and things went well, it would be just sort of boring, which I guess is what they're saying to all of us who are mad about how they're ending this season. Hey, if they just went off into the sunset together, that's just boring.
Right. We'd have to end the show.
Could we have an episode of going off into the sunset together before you tear them apart again? Come on. Oh, well. I'm, okay. I can go back and watch individual parts of this season and just swoon.
Just go back and watch that montage video a bunch of times.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been weird. So I don't feel like I'm dying to see what they're going to do next, as I have been the last couple of seasons. I mean, I'll watch it. We'll watch it. I'll watch it because I have to, because you're going to make me. But
I'm curious. I think by the time September rolls around,
I'm afraid is what I am.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say about this,
think about Parks and Rec. It ended as it should be.
It did, but I mean, Leslie and Ben had a challenge, but basically all it was, we could lose our jobs if we get back together. Oh, let's just get back together. This is sort of different. There's a greater degree of difficulty for Chidi and Eleanor.
That's true.
But
they've done it many times before.
Yeah. That scene where they were watching the film, especially given that according to the podcast, they were just sitting there staring out into space. They were
looking at Mike
anything.
Schur, reading them.
Yes, exactly. So we're just reading into their reactions. But that was such a sweet scene. That was just gorgeous acting from the both of them. And I don't know. One thing that comforts me to some degree about the show is that I always predict what I think is going to happen and that I won't like it. And then something else happens completely different. I may still not like it, but it's not the thing that I was prepared for. So I'll just spend this time off thinking of all the things that I don't want to happen. Because if I think of them, apparently they don't. Won't. Just like my mom said about worrying.
There you go.
Well, for next week's episode, we will have another West Wing episode to watch. A change is going to come. But a change is going to come for our TV watching schedule because no more The Good Place. And we will be watching one day at a time when it returns, but it is not returning quite on time. We have a week in between. Almost did it. If they could had 13 episodes of The Good Place, it would have been perfect. But so next week, since we are still sort of, reeling over the ending of The Good Place, we thought we would watch something else from the same creative universe and get our hit of Mark Evan Jackson, since presumably there will be no podcast. And we are going to watch an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a series I watched quite enthusiastically for a couple of seasons and then allowed to build up on my DVR and have never quite gotten back to. So I'm excited to watch another episode of it. We're going to watch the episode Safe House, which is season 5, episode 12. We have it on Hulu. You may be able to find it elsewhere, but watch it with us, will you? And we will talk about that next week, along with the West Wing episode that we hope will be somewhat better than the ones we've watched so far this season. Hope springs eternal. Sure. Anyway, that's going to be it for our round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes. We have something new for you every weekday. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Catherine.
Bye, Terry.
Goodbye, everybody.